Defense Minister orders investigations into alleged involvement of some military personnel in the protection of some illegal mining sites.
I've tasked the Chief of Defense Staff, and he has also tasked the Army Commander, the Chief of Army Staff, to investigate it immediately and bring all the evidence and facts available to us.
This follows Land and Natural Resources Minister's experience of fierce resistance from some personnel of the Ghana Armed Forces who were protecting an illegal mining site in the Ashanti region.
In most of the sites we visited, the military personnel were stationed there, and this is not coming from my outfit.
Also, Chinese Galamsey Kingpin Huang reduced to tears as her bail application hearing adjourns to June 2.
Not happy. I mean, we thought probably, looking at the days they've already spent in the cooler, we thought probably we could get an earlier date.
So why the military officers? I'm sure that's the question you're also asking yourself. What are the ramifications of the military engaging in this act? We'll be getting into the skin of these matters and hear from the Defense Minister, the Land and Natural Resources Minister, plus some independent analysis on this matter. This is today's big story. My name is Aisha Ibrahim. The Minister of Defense, Dominic Nitiwul, has directed the Chief of Defense Staff to immediately launch investigations into accusations that some military officials have been providing security for illegal small-scale miners. He has been reacting to allegations by the Minister of Lands and Natural Resources, John Peter Amewu, that some military men have been protecting some illegal miners in the Galamsey West District of the Ashanti region. The Lands and Natural Resources Minister had visited the region to engage traditional authorities and some miners as part of government's efforts to sanitize the small-scale mining sector, but reportedly faced some resistance from military men. We can listen to the minister recounting his story.
What is clear that this fight cannot keep on going alone with the military. And I think you agree with me that there are law enforcement agencies out there who need to do a lot. Interestingly, it's been established that the military is protecting an illegality. Nobody can, say that is not true. We've all seen it in most of the sites we visited. The military personnel were stationed there, and this is not coming from my outfit. I tried to check from the Minerals Commission. Minerals Commissions had never on any occasion signed any contract with the military to allow those military personnel to be protecting an illegality. I went to my ministry and said, comes out with all the files, and the ministry had never on any occasion established any contract with the military department to protect an illegality. So what is clear is that the military on their own, whether through the I don't know, whatever those contracts had been established. We want to use this opportunity to call on the military hierarchy to come and establish and tell all Ghanaians why this time still they are protecting an illegality. And for me, so long as the military will continue to do this, then the fight against an illegality is going to be very difficult for us. A site that has been declared, as an illegal, without license, provisions have been manned by strong military personnel, calls for questioning. And I think people of responsible positions might begin to answer questions. It is time this difficulty is brought down to its lowest mineral.
The Defense Minister, Dominic Nitiwul, however, says the culprits engaged in this act will face the full rigors of the law.
We're drawn to some allegations about some soldiers who are providing security for illegal miners, popularly called Galamsey, by my colleague minister. I've been trying to get him, I'm not able to get him. But I will not want to doubt what he has put out there. What I can tell you is that last year, as part of the problems encountered by companies that were legally entitled to go and do mining, some large scale like AGC, AGA and some small scale, consulted the previous government, and through the Chamber of Mines and Ghana Minerals Commission, asked, of course, and the National Security was also involved, asked the Ghana Army to at least help them. If you remember the AGC story, where people were chased away and a communication director died. So what the Army decided was that they should sign an MOU to allow them to be able to provide security in those areas. And that's precisely what is currently ongoing, that the Army has tried to assist in bringing security and warding off illegal miners in areas that have been allocated to the people who have the license to do the mining. The Army has not authorized anybody. They don't know anything about it, but they will investigate immediately and find out the veracity of that allegation. And it is about Galamsey, that is those who are doing illegal mining. And I can tell you that the Army will not get involved in it. They are not aware of it. But when anybody is found out to have acted in contravention against what the Army directives is, that person will be taken through the due process. First, through the Army processes, disciplinary processes, and of course, the civilian processes. That I want to assure the nation. And I've tasked the Chief of Defense Staff, and he has also tasked the Army Commander, the Chief of Army Staff, to investigate it immediately and bring all the evidence and facts available to us for the government to take a decision. Now, moving forward, the government will take a decision on whether to continue with that old arrangement or not. It has its security implications for the investors. So I will not readily be able to stand here and say that we are going to pull out the soldiers who are giving cover to places like AGC and other strong, Nidmon and co. But the government will take that decision in due course and will communicate that decision to you.
That was Dominic Nitiwul, Defense Minister, explaining how no military man caught in this act can escape the claws of the law. But joining me on the phone line is Wing Commander Patrick Nene Sogwajo, retired, who is a security analyst. He wants to make some submissions into this discussion. Good evening to you. Welcome on today's big story.
Good evening, Sheila.
Wing Commander, first, how does it come across to you that illegal miners are being protected by military men?
Well, I'm not too sure what he's saying. There's any concrete proof that military men are doing that. If they are doing that, unless by command of command, that you can move soldiers, military men, to go and perform any civilian duties. Military men are not moved to perform civilian duties unless the government is duly aware and instructed by the Minister of Defense to do so.
But the defense minister is ordering a probe into these allegations. Of course, we cannot say it's happening if we don't have any proof. But what should we be looking out for in these investigations that the defense minister is calling for?
The military has different phases of order. The CDS, the Chief Defense, is sitting in Accra here. We have 3 brigades, the Southern Brigade, the Central, and the Northern Brigade. And then within a brigade or 3 brigades, we have battalions of 4 companies and platoons of, it is likely that some instruction might have been used by a command, a local command, without the Chief of Defense Staff or Ministry knowing about it. And if that happens, it is illegal.
Well, we know.
I hope you got me right.
Yes, yes.
So if the Minister of Defense is saying that they should investigate, it could have happened on his blind side. That's why he wants an investigation to find out who ordered the military men to go there.
Exactly.
Then they will take that person on. But they can't suddenly just take what the Minister of Mines is saying and act on it. He has his routine of going through his commanders and subordinates to find out who ordered the soldiers to go there.
Well, this has been hearsay.
Soldiers don't perform civilian duties unless authorized by higher command.
Definitely. So, of course, the investigation should look out for who made the command for these people to go.
Certainly, who made the command.
But looking at all the issues
yes,
that are playing in this fight against Galamsey, are you hopeful of any positive results in this investigation?
Well, if Ghanaians will take off their mind and what I can get for myself and my family, and we'll all look at the damage that has been done, we'll get somewhere. Whether it be to military uniform or police, you know, investigations go on and culprits will be punished as deterrent.
All right, many thanks to you. Wing Commander Sogbajo is retired. He's a security analyst and he's a retired Navy officer. Many thanks for your time. We're still trying to get the Minister for Land and Natural Resources to share his experience of fierce resistance from some personnel of the Ghana Armed Forces who were protecting an illegal mining site in the Ashanti region, where he went to have some discussions with chiefs and traditional leaders on the way forward in stopping or fighting illegal mining. When we get him, we'll bring that interview. But let's go back and listen to the Defense Minister, Dominic Nitiwo, who says that the law would deal with anybody who is found acting in this manner.
If it has come to our notice, or if there's any soldier or CO, commanding officer in any of our garrisons or battalions, that has allowed his soldiers to go and engage in illegal mining, I can say the army is not aware of it, and they will look at it. If nobody is found to have committed that crime, that person will be dealt with according to law. But as we stand now, the army has not and will not authorize anybody, when I say the army, I'm talking about Ghana Armed Forces, to engage in protecting Galamseyers. If it is indicted in the BNI report, the BNI will forward that to us when it comes to the attention of the military high command, and there's evidence against any military person, that person will be dealt with. You will remember that the military themselves took action against a commanding officer at 2 b.m. Is that right? Some time ago on issues bordering with Galamsey, when he was supposed to have seized some machines in a way and acted in a way that he was not supposed to. The military took action and they are investigating and punishing the people who they are supposed to punish.
This is today's big story. You sure want to know what got Galamsey Kingpin Huang to shed tears in court when her case was adjourned to June this year? We'll bring you all the details after this break. This is today's big story. Let's get onto the phone line and speak with my colleague Maxwell Agbagba, who's been following the Lands and Natural Resources Minister, who's touring some parts of the country. Good evening to you, Maxwell Agbagba. Where has the minister been touring? Hello, Maxwell. If you can hear me, where has the minister been touring?
Answer, we've been touring some military installations with the Minister of Defense, Dominic Nitiwo. His first port of call was the Eastern Naval Command somewhere in Tema, where he had some briefings from the head of the various military units. Later also he inspected some buildings, some structures for the Eastern Naval Command. Then we moved on to the Tema Manche Palace, where he had interactions with the Tema Manche himself. He told him that he was there to familiarize himself with the Eastern Naval Command, and also to know how the military men in that jurisdiction are, dealing with civilians in that area. So basically, following the Tema Manche. From there, we moved on to the armed, that's the armed recruit training school that's somewhere in Shire Hills, where the minister actually was not too excited about some dilapidated and I should say deplorable state of structures. There, some of the structures actually had holes in them, and that is as a result of some acquiring activities that have been going on there in the Shire Hills he says he actually ordered the release of an amount of $50,000 to be used for the renovation of some of the structures. But one of the big issues that came up during the talk was his response to some issues surrounding Galamsey. You remember that sometime yesterday, Minister of Lands and Natural Resources, Mr. John Amewu, actually put some information out there that during one of his talks, actually, some Galamsey workers, some Galamseyers backed by military officers, actually preventing them from accessing some of the illegal sites. Well, the Minister for Defense says that in the past, that was some years ago, about 2 years ago, the military actually went into signed a memorandum of understanding with the Ghana Chamber of Mines and then the Minerals Commission and other stakeholders so that they will provide some form of security to legal and legitimate legal mining.
I think we lost Maxwell Agbagba there, but he makes a point clear that the minister was not happy with some of the places he visited. But still on Galamsey, the famous almighty Huang apparently cried in court today. The Chinese Galamsey kingpin, who has been charged with immigration offenses as well as engaging in illegal mining, reportedly got frustrated when the criminal division of the Accra High Court adjourned her bail hearing to June 2 this year. Now, our reporter, Joseph Akable, was in court. He now joins me in the studio. Joseph, it looks like 2 additional charges have been placed on Aisha. Is that what it is?
Yes. The first has to do with the fact that she was engaged in mining activity without appropriate authorization from the Minerals Commission. The second being providing of mining support services without authorization from the Minerals Commission. So that adds up to the initial charge of illegal employment of foreign nationals that falls under the Immigration Act that was put before the court. So today what happened was that the AG's department, the lawyer Mercy Arthur, substituted the charge sheet by replacing it with a new one that has these fresh charges added to it. All
right. So, and at a point, we all saw in the video that at a point Aisha or Isa or she couldn't carry her frustration. She had to express that in tears. How did we get there?
It was a case of looking forward or expecting something and it's not happening the way you want it to go. What we need to understand is that this is the second time her lawyers are making a request for bail. The very first time was when she was picked up in Kumasi and brought to Accra. When the 48-hour deadline was just about elapsing, the Immigration Service rushed to court asking that she is kept on remand whilst they continue with the investigation. At that hearing, her lawyers requested that she be allowed to go home. This time around, the argument changed a bit. They are saying that she is unwell, she is suffering from a medical condition that requires urgent attention, for which reason they want her to go home for treatment. But that did not happen today, as the court is saying that they should come back on June 2 for my ruling on that. So that is how come she looked very unhappy, banging her fist on the seats in the courtroom, breaking down in tears and requiring the lawyers and the immigration officers to try for about 15 minutes to calm her down before she was let out of the courtroom.
It must be a very sad moment for her, especially knowing that she will not spend the night in her home as she expected. But the case has been adjourned to next month, right?
Yes.
Exactly. Okay, June 2 is when the case will be called again. So what exactly will the court be looking at?
Justice Charles Ekobedi will be telling all of us, like, we want to know whether she'll continue her stay in the court, in the police custody, or she'll be allowed to go home. Now, what we must understand is that this is just a bail application. They've not even started hearing the substantive matter itself, whether she is guilty or not. That has not even been done in the first place. So when they decide on the bail application that she may be allowed to go home, they can continue with the trial. The same with if she's denied the bail application, the trial continues.
Okay. I think we should also listen to her lawyer, who was also unhappy about the turn of events.
Now they claim that they did further investigations and they've charged them under the Minerals and Mining Act as well. So now they've added 2 additional charges under the Minerals and Mining Law. That is it. So basically they've added 2 extra charges. So now it's not just about immigration charges, but offenses under the Minerals and Mining Act as well.
Your client didn't seem happy when the request was was fixed for another day to rule on.
Yes,
as lawyers for her, how does this come to you?
We are not happy. I mean, we thought probably, looking at the days they've already spent in the cooler, we thought probably we could get an earlier date as a decision of the courts, and we would abide by it.
So that was a lawyer for the Galamsey Queen, Aisha Huang. So were her lawyers hopeful of any change come June 2? Were they thinking that she will get bail?
As far as they are aware, they've put forward a forceful argument. In fact, it was a long argument they made in the courtroom. They spoke about the fact that she was unwell, like I pointed out. They also talked a bit about her willingness to comply with the court process. The argument in that regard is that if they allow her go home, I mean, sometimes court grants bail, you call the person to come to court on the next day, the person doesn't show up. They said this is someone who has willfully surrendered their passport to the immigration service. Again, they say that contrary to speculations in the media that she was refusing to show up when the police at the immigration service were trying to arrest her, they said she willfully turned herself up for arrest. So she's willing and ready to comply with the court process. So why are you denying such a person a bail? They again make the point that as far as they are aware, some of the charges that have been put against her cannot be substantiated in the courtroom. They talk about the fact that they said they've gone contrary to orders by the immigration, specified under the Immigration Act. They said that that would be very difficult for them to prove, and they are ready to make arguments against that charge. And once that person, like we know recently, that case that was filed by Martin Pebu, all offenses are allowable. You were able to get bail application once the judge agrees that it should be given you. So they say that under that, she is entitled to bail together with the 4 others. What was interesting is that a lot of the arguments centered largely on Aisha Huang rather than the 4 others who are also before the court. The understanding we are getting is that the concession where they were picked up somewhere in Amansie West, this concession belongs to Aisha Huang. She's the one who has employed the 4 others to be working on the concession. So they are more or less her employees. And that is why a lot of the focus is on her.
But let's go more into her countenance today at the court. How was she looking? Did she look remorseful? How was her
I must say that her reaction compared to before hearing comments and after hearing was more or less like a sharp change. Before proceeding, she seemed the more lively among the 5 of them. She was the one who was engaging the others in conversations. Some of the police investigators that came in, she was asking them questions and talking to them. So at that point, she seemed very calm. When the case was called,
and very sure that she was going to
get a bail through. But right when it was denied, the judge walked out of the courtroom. I turned around to check it out again, and she looked completely different. Right, banging her face and in tears. It appears it was very difficult for her to take the understanding that she was going back to the Nsawam prison, where she'll be spending at least another week for the hearing to come again with the ruling.
But she doesn't look remorseful, was she?
It would be difficult to tell. As far as they are aware and how they are pushing for the medical attention, it appears they disagree with the claim that she has even done something wrong in the first place. But I mean, obviously that will be for the court to determine. So we expect the Ghana Immigration Service, right after this ruling, whether it is granted or not, to put forward their case. Then the judge will listen to them and see whether indeed she is the Galamsey Queen like we have been made to believe, or whether she's nothing like that and it's just a case of people wanting to cause bad name for her.
All right, many thanks to you. Joseph Akable is a man in court. And so we've been talking about some fierce resistance by the Lands and Natural Minister, John Peter Amewu, who went around checking some illegal mining sites and to have some conversations with opinion and traditional leaders of that area on how to fight this Galamsey. And we've also been talking about the Defense Minister's orders and directives to open investigations into military men who are purportedly protecting illegal mining sites. We also heard from the court where Kingpin Galamsey Kingpin Aisha Huang shed tears because she will not go home today. She will spend another week and before her case will be heard. My name is Aisha Ibrahim. This is today's big story. Many thanks for watching. Have a good evening.